This is Lisa from LOVESEATMARRIAGE.com. You're listening to Sex and Touch in Marriage. Many books and theories boast that non-sexual touch is necessary for a woman to be able to grow intimately with her husband. I feel that this concept confuses many men, and they just give up due to not being able to grasp the concept of non-sexual touch. Non-sexual touch leads to intimacy, which leads to sex. So for women, this is a necessary part of a marriage. It contributes to them being sexually intimate with their husbands. Let's take a look at non-sexual touch in ways that maybe both men and women could understand it so that it could work together for both of them. Typically, men do not understand non-sexual touch because most facets of their lives are sexual. They are sexual beings. For them, the thought of sex enters their mind on average of once a minute in some way, so they cannot escape it. Instead of looking at it as a problem and that something is wrong with them, we should see it as their makeup, part of their system. It is the same as our love need to nurture. It is inherent and it's just a part of us. If we can separate why we don't like it and why we think it is wrong and just learn to accept it for what it is and work our marriages to utilize it, we would all be much more pleased with our marriages. Men usually cannot touch their wives without thinking about it sexually. They love us and they want to show us how much through sex. It is just what it is and it's how God made them. Sex is a binding agent in marriages, and God made men so that they would always be chasing it and wanting to bond with their mate to keep the intimacy strong in marriage. Because of this, it makes sense to me that some people will cheat if they're not getting their needs met. We are made to mate and bond, and if we're not bonding with our spouse, we're likely to try to find someone else to bond with. Just so all the men can know right now and figure it out easily, non-sexual touch means any touching that doesn't lead to sex. It is all of the touching that you do throughout the day that gets you to the sex. Let's just call it touching for short. We all touch each other, and sometimes sex is a product of it, and sometimes it isn't. It is just leading up to it later. But it all eventually adds up to enough touching to want to have sex. So touching is important in marriage to build intimacy. Non-sexual touch for a woman is a whole different ballgame, and they want specific forms of it. Just like we all like different foods, sports, or clothes, different wives like and need different forms of touching. Some wives like to hold hands with their husbands, some in public, some only in private. Some husbands like to have their backs rubbed by their wives while sitting at the movies. No matter what your favorite forms of touch are, what is important is that your spouse knows you like and need them, and that you know the forms your spouse needs, and then that you both provide them for each other. Let's go back to the start of your relationship to figure out what forms of touch connected you in the first place. When you were first dating, there were ways your spouse touched you that built intimacy, and it formed a bond that brought you together, and eventually you ended up married and in a sexual relationship. These were the brushing of hands that led to hand-holding, and then on to hugging and to kissing, and then you know. These are still an essential part of marriage that lead into these things. Many married couples experience a decrease in kissing just for the sake of kissing. Eventually, in some marriages, kissing is only present during lovemaking. This is in part due to touching decreasing and small physical tokens of love coming to a halt or being taken for granted. Kissing is a big part of what physically drives a woman to want to have sex. If you kiss your wife for 5 minutes, she's likely to get excited and want to have a mutually fulfilling sexual experience with you. So-called foreplay is a vital part of what makes the sexual experience rewarding for a woman. And there are sometimes multiple complicated steps to get there. But it is well worth the work if a man wants his sexual desires met in a way that fulfill him and meet his need for an intimate connection. The goal here is for a husband to learn what his wife desires in non-sexual touch. Touching is about intimacy, and it is a way to build it. It is a secret, unspoken language between spouses. When a husband touches a wife, he usually has an end goal of sex. It is normal and natural, and is how he shares intimacy with his wife. When a woman gets touched by her husband, she perceives it as loving, a caress or a playful gesture that works towards an end goal. but for the present time makes her feel good and thought about, treasured, and protected. When a wife touches a husband, she is conveying her love for him, and may be flirting in a way that says, "I'm attracted to you." A husband usually has a sexual thought when his wife touches him, because he has a need to be touched and share sexual intimacy with his wife. Neither spouse is incorrect or has a skewed vision of what they need. It's just different from their spouse. When looking at the importance of touch in a marriage, it is vital to accept the other's need for what it is and fulfill it. And stop wasting time being offended or critical and get on to the lovemaking stage. It's way more fun anyway. Let Greg and I know what you think by commenting at LOVESEATMARRIAGE.com. Also, follow us on Twitter to be kept up to date on new blog posts and fresh audio blogs as soon as we upload them. Find us at twitter.com/LVSTMRRG. Like us on Facebook by going to facebook.com/LoveSeatMarriage.